Hiya, my name is Poke King, but you can just call me King, and today I am going outside of the Pokemon box and reviewing something that has nothing to do with Pokemons. But it is still nerd shit, and I came to the realization I can do whatever I want on my channel, so here we are. Today I am going to be reviewing the Five Nights at Freddy's movie. At the time of writing the script for this video, I would have watched the movie twice, and at the time of actually recording the video, I've watched it 3 times. By the time of actually posting the video, I've probably watched it 4 times, and that's not even an exaggeration. This movie was peak. Now, you may be asking yourself, King, why are you dick riding this movie? I have seen a lot of bad reviews for it. And the bad reviews are literally like IGN's that says, this big screen take on the indie horror sensation Five Nights at Freddy's has too much plot. Too much plot? The movie. The movie has too much plot. I'm convinced IGN has no fucking idea what they're talking about. So I am here today to explain what makes this movie peak in my opinion and ultimately discuss the FNAF movie in its entirety on my Pokémon YouTube channel. Also, this is going to be a review with spoilers. I was debating if I wanted to do spoilers or not, or have spoilers at a certain point, but honestly, I can't not talk about every piece of this movie, and to be safe, I'll just say the whole video will have spoilers. I don't know, you want my non-spoiler review? Okay, this movie was fucking great, go fucking watch it. Alright, moving on.
Was that the 87?
There are far less things I dislike than things I liked in this movie, so I'm gonna do the dislikes first. The main problem with this movie for me is that I had an issue with some of the plot pieces, and no, it's not that the movie has too much plot. I am well aware of what series we are working with here, but my issue was how some of this plot was conveyed. I just feel like some things were very convoluted when they didn't need to be, but again, I'm well aware of the series I'm talking about here. Convoluted doesn't even encapsulate where the franchise is right now at this point. But anyways, I feel like the movie lost me a bit at 2 points. One, the ant character whose name I'm forgetting was a fine side antagonist, but I don't really see why she had to hire, I don't know if it was her son or if it was just some random guy and like his friends to go break into Freddy's. Like, I understand that was to set up the characters going in there and getting killed, and it also brought us the diner scene, which I'll get to later, but I feel like the ant could have just been a side antagonist trying to get custody of Abby, and that would have been fine. And then random hooligan kids could have went to Freddy's and broken in if we needed a scene of the robots killing people. Because even after this happens and Max's bite of 87'd in half, Mike doesn't even seem to care. Like, he just thinks, oh, Max isn't picking up her phone, that's whatever. And then he like mentions it in passing to Vanessa later on, and it's very weird. Also, Golden Freddy straight up kills the ant in their living room, and she is just dead. On the floor and never brought up or discussed again. She just died, I guess. Also, I feel like Mike saying yes to the dead kids to take Abby and then taking it back was a bit weird too. Like, my thing is, they could have just done the same scene, but when Mike touches his brother's face and has his flashback to Abby, he says no to them instead of saying yes at all. I feel like that could have worked just the same and have the kids just disappear after anyways, because I don't think the ghost children possessing giant robots need permission from Mike to kill his sister, or permission from anyone for that matter. I feel like him saying yes is just so weird. Like, we had all this build up to make us believe Mike loves Abby and wants to do what's best for her, and he just so quickly tosses her to the murdering children because they made his brother just appear in a dream. It's very weird. Also, this isn't really an issue I had with the film, but more of a question. When did Abby come into existence? Like, okay, if I'm understated correctly, Mike's brother went missing before Abby was born, and he said his father couldn't take it anymore and his mom just died some years back. So, did Mr. and Mrs. Smith just lose a child and randomly decide to have another one, and then Mr. Smith just pieced out? It seems very unlikely, and this could have also been fixed with simply including Abby in the flashback dreams as like a newborn or something to kind of explain the age differences. or even showing his mom pregnant in the flashback scenes. I don't know, maybe it's lore, maybe Abby has rebuilt Garrett, who knows, that's a topic for another day, I think. Okay, but that's literally all of the complaints I have, so let's get into the good shit.
FNAF at Freddy's. That's where I wanna go.
Before we can even fully get into this, can I just say the sets, the characters, and the shots in this movie, the animatronics themselves, were absolutely stellar. Like, holy hell, these animatronic costumes were just absolutely perfectly crafted, and the actual pizzeria setup was wonderful. It is exactly how I imagine Freddy Fazbear's Pizza to look. Total 80s Chuck E. Cheese style restaurant nostalgia, even though I am a 90s kid. Every single little detail of this set and the production was just spot on, and I loved it. Even things like how the animatronics act when they are killing those degenerates. Chica kills one in the kitchen. Also, his name is Carl, which I think is funny considering it is Chica's cupcake that gets him, who the fans have named Carl. I don't know if that's his official name, but everybody kind of widely accepts Chica's cupcake to be named Carl, so I think that was definitely a nod to that. And then when the one guy was hiding in the supply closet, I knew right away Bonnie would be in there. And then we get Foxy running down the hall, which was again fantastic, and Freddy is in parts of service delivering us the bite of 2023, which is just amazing. It was perfectly done. Moving on to the actual plot. For starters, one of the things I really liked about the movie was the way they treated Mike's identity. In the trailers and the casting info leading up to this, Mike was just known as Mike with no last name given, and it was because they knew that the fans were going to kind of dig through all of the casting information and everything like that to find any piece of lore. And I think that it was really smart because it kept hardcore fans in the dark on whether this was going to be Mike Smith or if it was going to be another reoccurring use of a name in this series. And in the beginning, William goes to say Mike's last name and says but didn't finish it, and I thought that was all we were going to get, and I was fine with that. But no, we got a full clear as day name drop for Michael Smith at the end, and William actually knew him and gave him the job because he knew who he was, which is just brilliant. Another thing I instantly pointed out and had kind of a haha funny moment with was the whole dream theory thing and how that was woven into the plot. If you know FNAF, you know about dream theory and what that means in the FNAF games specifically. Quick recap if you missed it, dream theory was a theory floating around back in FNAF 4 era where it was suspected that at least the first 3 games were all just dreams within the mind of the crying child, which the fan base widely was split into 2 about, with a majority of people completely denouncing dream theory and getting mad about it being mentioned ever. We can't escape dream theory. It will follow us now and forever. I also feel like I haven't seen many people talk about this yet, but the folks who I have seen talk about this scene were kind of mad about it, and it is the fort scene. I think a lot of people probably saw this scene and thought that it was stupid and not needed, but I actually liked this scene a lot. It really drove home the fact that these animatronics were, at the end of the day, haunted by ghost children, and this scene really highlights that fun and playful side these kids must have had when they were alive. Also, you can't get mad at Bonnie giving us a thumbs up after falling over. You just can't. Something I wanted to touch on here as well is maybe less of a what I liked point and more of a what I noticed point. That springlock suit in the back they were going to shove Abby in, that was Ella, right? Or at least a version of her, right? Like, it had to have been. And in turn, if it was Ella, does that mean that it was also a younger version of Baby? Oh boy, if that is in fact Ella or a version of Baby, ooh, that opens up a lot of doors that I don't know if I am ready for. It might even open up a 4th closet. It is another thing that newcomers to the series probably would just see as a creepy Springlock doll, but longtime fans had a if you know, you know moment. On that topic, I will say I really enjoyed the little Easter eggs that were in this movie, from the one character with the Midnight Motorist shirt to the kid who Mike thought was getting kidnapped having a striped shirt like the crying child, and even the "It's me" that appeared on the mirror.
It's just me?
Each and every frame of this movie was packed with things for the fans. Another thing I liked was something I don't know was intentional or not, but I liked that they seemed to bring the old and the new lore into question here. Not only with Vanessa, but also with the statements she made about how William controls the kids somehow. And it could honestly be a hint at the AI stuff that the series is currently playing with right now. On this subject, we got some confirmation that Vanessa is William's daughter. Whether this means that she has some connection to him in the current game canon or not, I think that it's cool that they went this way in the movie. Now, let's talk about William Afton's death scene. Oh my, this was a treat. Fun fact, when I watched this the second time around, I watched it with my parents who knew very little about FNAF, and when the spring lock snapped on William, both of my parents were like, yeah, you idiot, why are you in that kind of suit? He is so stupid. And then I mentioned his death in this movie almost perfectly matches his death in the games, and my mom looked me dead in the eyes and was like, what, that happens in the games? Very confusedly. But regardless, yeah, that scene was absolutely fucking awesome. Between the suit snapping on him, the kids he murdered all surrounding him, and him saying, I always come back, which got a huge reaction to folks in my theater, including me. My poor boyfriend, who doesn't even like FNAF much, saw this movie with me on opening night and had to sit there while I pointed at the screen shouting lore every time anything remotely lore related happened. This scene was no different. But anyways, yes, this scene was just masterfully crafted. It took inspiration from the books, from the games, and from like everything. And then in the end, Golden Freddy locks him away in the safe room in the pizzeria, never to be found again. Of course, until the next movie because, well,
I always come back.
And lastly, just wrapping up the movie in a beautiful Freddy Fazbear, they legit got the Living Tombstone song as the credits song. Everybody kind of heard the Toreador March in my theater and was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But as soon as that first fucking lyric started, people lost their absolute shit, including me, who did the cringe thing and sung parts of it in the theater while my boyfriend covered his face. But that honestly just put the cherry on top of this already wonderful FNAF cake. And then we got a mid-credit scene with the balloon boy, and we also got an end-credit secret message in the style of the FNAF 2 minigames, along with the music box song playing in the background, which to me really hints at a FNAF 2 style movie coming next. Putting my little theory hat on for a moment, that little secret message at the end of the credits that spells out "come find me," I feel like a lot of people assumed was a reference to Garrett and Mike going to find Garrett, but it could also be a hint to the ending cutscene of Sister Location where Mike is talking to William and he ends the scene by saying, I'm going to come and find you, which isn't exact, but it is a neat parallel there. And even if it is about Garrett, the parallels between Garrett and Charlie go crazy, and this could, again, all tie into a second FNAF movie about the FNAF 2 location, which I will be hyped for. And considering how this movie is doing right now in the box office, I can almost guarantee that they're gonna do another movie. So, in conclusion, is the FNAF movie peak? I would say, a big fucking yes. Now, I want to explain my thoughts a bit here and why I think this movie was peak, but it was peak in my opinion for a very particular reason that isn't including all of the things I just talked about. This movie was truly made for the fans. This really came into light with the diner scene, which the diner scene is probably my favorite scene in this movie, and it absolutely set the tone for me, and it was such an amazing tone that it set. Yes, I am talking about the Matpat scene. That right there is where I knew that this movie was made for the fans. Because casual moviegoers who are just going to see the FNAF movie because it is new would probably see Matpat and have no idea who that is and question why the fuck the rest of the movie theater is foaming at the mouth for some random white man. But if you know who Matpat is and know what he has done for this franchise, which I'm assuming all fans do know, to some extent, you have a moment of pure joy seeing him in there and dropping his catchphrase. This scene is also just highlighted because Matpat legitimately never said anything about being in this movie, and he would repeatedly pretend like he was not invited to the set or not invited to be in the movie. And I remember people were like really mad about it and kept on requesting that he be in the movie and were like contacting Blumhouse about it. And honestly, like, I didn't contact Blumhouse, but I was kind of pissed off that he was not in the movie, and I was like, wow, this isn't fair. He got us all. That's all I'm gonna say about that. And it was truly magical not knowing he was gonna be in it and then seeing him in it. It was absolutely fucking wild. Heck, even Markiplier was supposed to be in this movie but couldn't due to scheduling conflicts. But still, that means so very much to YouTubers and content creators as a whole. This isn't just some indie movie. This was a Hollywood motion picture, and they cared enough about their fans to have YouTubers cast in the movie, and it's insane. That is a phenomenal step for content creators as a whole, and I absolutely adore seeing YouTubers who deserve to be taken seriously being taken seriously and given these opportunities to be in movies for franchises that they did so much for, and in return, did so much for them. I love it. Huge W for Matpat and a huge W for content creators everywhere. I know saying a movie was only made because of fans seems very silly, because isn't every movie based off a video game or a book series or anything for that matter made because of fans? Yes, but also no. I don't even think I am wrong in saying that FNAF as a whole would not be where it was today without its fans. Other franchises and properties for sure rely on fans to keep them going, like Pokémon for example, but I also think Pokémon being attached to such a gaming giant like Nintendo, even if the fans weren't as plentiful as they were, would still be succeeding solely based on the fact that it's connected to a very famous and well-known IP. Whereas FNAF was made by essentially one guy when it started, and was nothing more than this one guy's way of taking criticism for his other games and flipping it on its head. I am convinced, and I don't think I am in the minority here, that this game series would not have blown up like this without the fans, the YouTubers who played and theorized about it, and everyone who still does. The fans and the community are the backbone of this entire franchise, and I can confidently say Five Nights at Freddy's would not be where it was today without these fans. As someone who has been with the fandom and franchise basically since the beginning back in 2014 when I was 16, I can confidently say that this movie gave me everything I could have wanted and more. Everyone on the production and writing team at Blumhouse really came through to make something special for the fans, and this is even more relevant in the reviews that everybody is seeing online. Because while critics are tearing apart this movie, fans adore and love it, and honestly, that's all that matters. Heck, even Jason Blum notices this and is super happy that the Blumhouse team and everyone involved made something the fans enjoyed. FNAF is a difficult series to really make a cohesive narrative around, and I am sure if you have spent 5 seconds in the Game Theory FNAF Reddit, you can completely agree with that statement. But the entire production team and writing team really hit a home run here, with everything coming together to make something critics may piss and shit over, but the fans like myself will adore for years and years to come. I am so happy with how this movie turned out and looking forward to see what they do with the franchise in the future for more movies. I am so glad Blumhouse got the rights to the FNAF movie because they showed that they can make something freaking amazing, and I am so thankful for that. In the end, I am happy to report that I liked this movie. Clearly, and I think that you should go and watch it. While I do know that the FNAF creator has come under some criticism in the past for some personal opinions, I do think that you should watch this movie solely based on the people at Blumhouse who worked their asses off to make such a masterpiece, and for the fans and community who are some of the most amazing people I have ever known throughout the years, even with our ups and downs and disputes on theories. When I went to go see this in the theater on opening night, I just knew that everyone around me was feeling that same magic and sense of community as I was. All of us screamed when we saw things that we liked. We all gasped when we saw lore. I could see everyone in the theater just thoroughly enjoying the movie, and it really took me back to being 16 in high school and experiencing these games and lore with my nerdy ass friends and just enjoying the franchise to be happy and have fun with. It truly was an experience, and I am so happy that I got to live in the same time as FNAF and all of the things that have come with it. From the bottom of my heart, thank you to everyone involved in making this movie possible. The entire team at Blumhouse, the writers who were able to even make a coherent story for this movie, which is such a feat, and of course, thank you to the fans who keep this fandom alive. Together we made this movie possible, and together we can look forward to see what's in store for us next, and I'm truly excited. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know that had nothing to do with Pokemon, but if you knew it before or not, I am a huge fan of FNAF, and this movie really was something I was looking forward to seeing for a very long time, and when I did, I had lots of thoughts, and I wanted to share them. So I figured, why not? Make sure to leave a like, subscribe, hit that bell notification because I try to post videos on Tuesdays, and don't forget to check out my anniversary stream this Saturday, November 4th as well. I think that that's all for today. This script was literally almost 4,000 words long, so that's all. I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!
I always come